So I'm just here walking with Jerry.
Yes, yes.
I'm saying my director is going to come and take lunch supper.
Yeah, we're just doing a little walk on the wall, man. You know how it is.
Hello, hello. Welcome to African Travel and More. Now, in today's video, we visit the Ancestral Wall in New Ningo near Prampram in Ghana, West Africa. We were able to meet the owner, creator of the Ancestral Wall, Jerry Johnson. The interview will come in my next video, but today, just enjoy the Ancestral Wall. Let's go.
Okay, and this is Jerry. What's your last name, Jerry?
Jerry Johnson.
Jerry Johnson at the Ancestral Wall. Here, welcome to African Ancestral Wall. He's going to do us the Cliff Note version of the Ancestral Wall.
Yes, that's right. It'll get dark very quick here, so we're gonna start moving.
Okay.
Okay, down here on the end is, real quick, the reason I did the Ancestral Wall is because I was trying to get, I used to go to the schools and I didn't like what I was seeing, not enough history. So I had this property here, so I just put the wall up and I bring the children on field trips.
Right.
And afterwards, people started coming more than just the students. And that's one thing. Number two, the way I chose the people on the wall just based on attributes that I wanted the children to know about in our people and our history. And then finally, I had like 7 or 8 different artists, so you'll see different styles.
Okay.
Okay, quickly, Apoka Kanyani is Frafra woman, Bruni from northern Ghana. Yeah. She was known for using that pestle to actually kill one of the slavers, which gave her hometown a bad reputation for slaving. Okay. So she's a hero to her people there. Queen T, this is when I tell the children about the ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt being a black civilization. She was one of the leading queens at her time, the wife of Amenhotep the third rather, and
that's in Egypt.
In ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet, before the whites and the Arabs and everyone else came. Marcus Garvey, he's front and center when you come in. Up you mighty race. As you know, Garvey wanted to build national power on the African continent, so we wouldn't have George Floyd's and all of that going on by now, had we done what we were supposed to do. Kwame Nkrumah, I have him on the front. Most of the Ghanaians, of course, know him as the father after independence. But I have these words on here having to do with Marcus Garvey. You know, he says he read all of the big European thinkers, but the one that influenced him most was Marcus Garvey, Philosophy and Opinions. And that helps to put context for the people, you know. So right. they know Nkrumah's dead. So if he got it from Garvey, Garvey must be something too. 2 people here. Hey, how you doing? You making it? Yeah. And these 2 here, Jonas Karbo, he's the founder of this area, Karbo Kope, New Ningo. And this Tejangma was the first chief here that brought in with Jonas Karbo.
Okay.
Since I live here in New Ningo, you know, you want to give.
This is called New Ningo?
New Ningo. Prampram is just across the street.
Oh, okay.
So we're all here together.
Okay.
So I like to give some props to the owner, the founder. I'm going to put white stones down here some point down here. Oh, okay. You remember everyone? Oh, yeah. Well, I chose them, you know. So I'm going to remember if I chose them. Okay, this one gets me a little controversy, Eve, but I just have to let the youngsters and the people know that the beginning of our species, Homo sapiens sapiens, started in East Africa about 200,000 years ago. About 70,000 years ago, those Africans left Africa and populated the rest of the world. So from 200,000 to about, say, 130,000 BCE, there was no one in the world who did not live on the African continent. Only people in the world were in Africa. So I have to go through sometimes a little stress with that one because people challenge that. Chinua Achebe, a lot of you know him as a great writer. Things Fall Apart, Anthills of the Savannah, Man of the People. Can't say too much. We're going to make it to the end. Asa Hilliard, one of our great Egyptologists, psychologists, historians, and just all around inspiration to a lot of us coming up trying to learn about African history, civilizations, and culture. Santua, she's a great queen mother in Jisu in the Ashanti region. Of course, most Ghanaians know a lot about her. Struggling Santua wars against the British. Dedan Kimathi of Kenya, people heard of the Mau Mau, which is what the British called them. They were really the Land Freedom Army because they were trying to get their land back from the British, who were taking the best land during the colonial process. Jerry Rawlings' son is Kimathi. He named him for this man here.
Oh, okay.
Nzenga, Angola, some 500 years ago, this is during the slave time, she had to struggle against the Portuguese to keep her sovereignty in that place in Angola. Ajete, he's a Ghanaian who was, Sergeant Ajete, who was shot and killed because he was trying to get his due from the British because they fought in World War II in Burma and all of this. And after all of that valiant struggle, they weren't getting their benefits, retirements, all of that. He was shot, and 2 others were killed, and then that sparked the Accra riots, and that's when they arrested the Big Six. And that was the beginning of the end of colonialism. Maurice Bishop in Grenada, he's kind of like some would call him the Fidel Castro of Grenada, but I just like to say he's a brother who was rearranging his society. They only had 100,000 people. You might remember the Americans went and invaded and destroyed what they were building. The Namatan or Amazon warriors, the Dahomey, these are the sisters who fought the French at the head. They were the spear, the tip of the spear, so to speak, fighting with Bahanzan, who we mentioned here. Dahomey is today's Benin.
Okay.
Edward Wilmot Blyden, one of the true fathers, intellectual fathers of Pan-Africanism, born in the Virgin Islands, St. Thomas, who was very famous in Liberia. He's a politician, academician, and all of the rest. We're trying to beat the sun here. Well, just real quick. So Steve Biko, now the children, when I get them here, generally they've never heard of apartheid. So this gives me a kind of an early opportunity to actually discuss apartheid.
Okay.
They just don't know. It's not in the school, nowhere. So I tell them about Biko and the, Black Consciousness Movement, student, South African Student Organization, and the rest of what he's done. So we keep going. Sonny Ali, founded
and he was assassinated in prison.
No, there was a lot. He was in prison, but we do that. We won't get here before the sun goes
Right.
Yeah, he was assassinated. Of course, and the reason he was is because his voice was so clear. And if you ever read a book called I Write What I Like, you'll see the way he was thinking was just, they couldn't tolerate that kind of clear, revolutionary thinking. Sonny Ali, founder of the great empire, Songhai Empire. They had Ghana, Mali, Songhai, the 3 great West Africa. And he was a great organizer, just did a lot of things. Bahanza, of course, he struggled against the French there in Dahomey in the anti-colonial struggle. They called him the Great Shark. Miriam Makeba, Mama Africa, we know her for all her, not just her great music, but they kicked her out of South Africa for 3 decades because of her anti-apartheid stance.
He's a singer, right?
Yeah, the singer. Sheikh Anta Diop, the scholar, he's the one that opened everyone's eyes to the African and Black Africanness of ancient Kemet or ancient Egypt. Dessalines was a soldier who struggled, of course, against the French with the Haitian Revolution. Kind of a lieutenant of Toussaint Louverture. And more to say, George Washington Carver we know he was the founder, not founder, but the agriculture genius of the time.
True.
Soybeans, sweet potatoes, peanuts, all in all, just a genius. Julius Nyerere, one of the African leaders during the, coming out of the colonial times. One of the founders of OAU, and he's also there because he provided a base for the frontline states to fight and liberate themselves all throughout Southern Africa. Ephraim Mamou, he's a man from Peke, an Ebe man, who I have him here because he is insistent on maintaining his dress, his language, his culture, and just not being overrun by European, culture and power. Harriet Tubman, this is where I get to finally tell the children about slavery, because they don't really understand what happened on the slave times. Some of them even didn't know that we didn't get paid, believe it or not. So I tell about how she escaped an underground railroad and all that. Samora Michelle, Mozambique, young dynamic leader against the Portuguese, nanny in Jamaica, born in Ghana, ended up in Jamaica, as a slave. And she was so powerful they had to end up giving her section of the island. It's still there, Nanny Town or Nanny District now, or whatever it is. One of the Maroons, Haile Selassie, great Rastafari, as we know, and reformer and struggle against the Italians there in Ethiopia. Pianki, 25th dynasty Egypt, they say is the last really truly black dynasty of ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt, 714 BC. Well, we've already had almost 3,000 years of civilization going through by then. Shaka, the great Zulu king, who
Shaka Zulu
did a lot. Fanny Hamer, because our children don't know that we didn't vote. We couldn't vote. Black people in America, when I was a boy, it was almost impossible for my parents to vote. She was a crusader for the vote and just human rights, and just a seriously courageous woman. Chokwe Sri, he's one of the big names here in Ghana who brought the Ewe Anglos to this part of the country, out of a place called Borche, which is also up in Togo. King Tachitalia, who was Gamanti from 100 years ago, and they were really struggling against the colonial regimes first coming in. He's also known for his organizational skills and vision and all this. Now, this was very important for the children too. Menes, because we know we still have this big head, this carved. This is the first pharaoh of the first dynasty, ancient Kemet or ancient Egypt. So this is what the pharaohs of the very first dynasty in the beginning of the Egyptian civilization, and we know he looked like that because we still have his head. Now here in Ghana, they all see all these pictures of all these Arab-looking white pharaohs and all, but this man looks like he's your brother, right?
Right.
That's the real face. We got Cabral, Amilcar Cabral. Cabral was really one of our greatest thinkers, fighters against the Portuguese beginning Bissau, and so his people really broke the back of the Portuguese colonizing movement by whipping them in the field beginning Bissau. He's also a great writer and thinker and just all-around strategist. Imhotep, world's first known multiple genius, world's first medical doctor, astronomer, scribe, poet, all of that. Ancient Kemet, 2600 BCE. Sure, of course, we know that he fought the French. Well, he actually fought the British too, getting the Haitian Africans on Haiti free. So that was the Haitian Revolution. The Africans took over the island. First real republic in the hemisphere. Bewa was the father of a lot of the northern groups of Ghana, the Bombas, the Mamprusis, the Moshi, all of that, all come down through this line. First is Santahini. There's a long story about him and Kofa Noche and the Golden School and all of that. But let's suffice first man there. Thomas Sankara, the great young leader from Burkina Faso, which is just north of here, really famous, really killed, I think, because he said, we're just not going to pay all of this odious debt owed by all of these people, and they had to make an example out of them. Venerators, this one is also important for the young girls, 60 to 100 BCE. This is a time frame when the Roman army, the so-called Great Roman Army now, was in charge of Egypt. So when they went south into Kush to conquer that, they met her and her army, the Kandakis or queens. She won the war, kicked them out, pushed them back up, and her and the following Kandakis were able to maintain that treaty or that peace for 300 years. That just shows you, before we had this big discrepancy in weaponry, we won a whole lot of these wars. The great Menelik of Ethiopia, because he's great because he saw the French and the British and everybody who were colonizing. He got enough ammunition, guns, and everything together. So when the Italians got to him, he was able to kick them out. That's why Ethiopia hasn't been colonized. Great Malcolm X. What can you say? Leader, thinker, brother, black shining prince. Titswell comes down Shaka's line. He's another one of the great Zulu kings who was able to have some success fighting against the British. This is where you really start seeing the weaponry overwhelm Africa. Akhenaten, the ancient Kemet, again, that's ancient Egypt. They call him the father of monotheism, although he's that could be controversial if you really look and see what the Africans of ancient Kemet had even before him. It was really kind of a monotheism. But you know, Islam, Christianity, Hebrewism, of course, all come from his line. Great Bob Marley, what can you say? Everybody in the world knows him. Wangari Maathai, a very brilliant political thinker, and you know, the ecology, I don't know if you remember, she won the Nobel Prize for planting all of the trees and millions of trees in Kenya. It's just a thinking, feeling spirit. Singbe Pierre is Sierra Leone. Some of you may have seen the movie The Amistad. You know, they broke free and tried to get the ship to come bring them back to Africa after they mutinied. The great chairman, Fred Hampton of the Black Panther Party, as you can see, only lived 21 years. He was killed by Chicago police, FBI, and all of those people just for his strength. Always, when I think of him and I think of Biko, these are two that were just killed because of their presentation. Well, Malcolm, you know. Maharero struggled against the Germans because the Germans basically had genocidal plans and actions against the Herero people there in Namibia.
Right.
And they killed, you know, tens of thousands of people died really for no reason other than German greed. Oliver Tambo, South Africa, of course, he's been working to keep the ANC going and keep all these things alive. Armed struggle, you know, he was financing that, organizing, all those kind of things, all those years. Agostinho of Angola. He was a medical doctor by training, but he was the leader of the anti-colonial struggle against the Portuguese. So these men, you know, poet, we call them Imhotep men, not Renaissance men, because Imhotep was a real multi-genius. But anyway, Zabeth, this young girl in Haiti. Now in Haiti, she was able to, you know, and I like this because the youngsters are coming through, you know, 9, 10, 11, 12, she was running away. She was struggling, trying to be free. Everything they did to her, they beat her, branded her, whatever, and she still comes back, runs away again, you know. So they never broke her spirit until, of course, they basically killed her. Abagre is the one struggling in Sierra Leone again against the British, who wanted to have hut tax, which is force the Africans to pay a tax on their hut to raise money for the British, you know, bank account. And he said, BS to that, we're not doing it. So they went to war. And he had a lot of success for the final cut. Felix Mumi, he's a young up-and-coming politician. He's here because I like the children to understand. He went to negotiate in Geneva in good faith, and they poisoned his drink with thallium and killed him. So he's here more as a lesson that, you know, until you really have power, you can't go negotiate in good faith with these people. They'll get you out of there. Another great South African warrior against the British. Well, he actually fought the Boers, which are the Dutch first, and then on to the British. He's well known down in the Popo area, South Africa. Now, Hannah, the great spirit woman, leader of Abagre, spirit leader of the first Shemarenga War of Resistance against the British. Of course, they caught her, hung her, but without her, we don't know how this thing would have gotten the motivation to get off the ground. Great Martin Luther King Jr.,
Yeah.
our human rights advocate and fighter in the U.S., Hatshepsut, one of the female pharaohs of ancient Kemet, kind of an imperialist in her own right in terms of the amount of territory going on up into what we call the Mideast today that she commanded. Illiterate of Nubia, once again, south of Egypt, the Nubia Kush area. In this case, 641, the Arabs are now in charge of Egypt. So you got to remember the Arabs who were, talking about civilization and all of that, they didn't come to Egypt till 600 AD. Now you see the first one was 3000 BC, and 2600 BC, all these BC. So the Arabs had absolutely nothing to do with the civilizations of Egypt, but they're there now taking credit for it because they know people don't know. But anyway, when they came down and tried to take this land in Nubia, he fought them and they forced them into a treaty that lasted 700 years. These people were serious. Muhammad Ali, greatest of all time, and this is where I get to tell the children about, how he stood up against Vietnam, stood up against being drafted. That George, one of the great Senegalese fighters, King or Damal of Cayor, who had to struggle against the French who were running a railroad through his thing, and he said, that's not going to work. So he died fighting them on the battlefield. Antonio Maceo was the leader, one of the two main leaders of the Cuban resistance war liberation against the Spanish, because they had to free themselves from Spain. So he was one of the great leaders. They call him the Bronze Titan. Patrice Lumumba of Congo, young leader, killed early. But one thing I have here about Lumumba that we talk about is we talk about the rubber. King Leopold and the rubber, and how roughly 10 million Ghanaians died, not Ghanaians, Congolese died in that whole rubber fiasco for King Leopold and his criminals. Quavanica, he had to struggle against the Germans. Finally caught him, they cut his head off, and then they kept the head for a long time. When the British won, and the British took his head, and they kept it for a long time. Finally sent it back to Tanzania. But anyway, this one is going to be, I had Hannibal on here, but I'm going to move Hannibal somewhere else because the painting wasn't working. So the guy is going to replace him with Mugabe, so you can see the sketch of Robert Mugabe. Hey, you can't do Mugabe. I said, yes, I can. Elijah Muhammad, this is another one that gets some controversy along the way. But if you look in America, Elijah Muhammad's Nation of Islam is the closest thing to a nation inside the nation that we've ever had. Welcome. And so, they had the bank, the transportation companies, all the rest of these things. So we have to give due to what he's able to do. Ida B. Wells, this is where I get to tell the children about the lynching that went on, after Reconstruction, all through America. And then afterwards, I'll even show them pictures of some of the lynching that went on. Like all those pictures, postcard pictures and all the rest. Ida B. Wells, a journalist with an avid anti-lynching crusader. And we got John and Kello. This one, some people say is a little controversial. He's, in Zanzibar, the Mani Arabs were standing on the heads of those Africans for generations. So finally, the natives got themselves together in the Afro-Shariza party and ran the Arabs out of there. And it was a very bloody affair. That's why people don't like talking about it. Sometimes trying to get your freedom, a little blood gets involved. Fela Kuti is a great resistance musician who we love out of Nigeria. Fela, you beat Fela, you just write another song insulting you more than the last one. Fela Kuti. Zambia, Brazil. This is another one of the African maroons in the mountains of South America and the Caribbean who went and got their freedom, ran into the mountains. So they call them quilombos, which are the settlements in the mountains where the Africans went to be free. he had probably the strongest quilombo in Brazil at the time. This is against the Portuguese. His place was called Palmares. Lasted for nearly 100 years. Now with these pictures, some of these, like, we don't really know what Zumbi looked like, so I just had to get somebody that looked mean enough to look like he could actually do the job. Also in Brazil, I put Nascimento here, mainly because for a lot of us, when we were reading about Afro-Brazilian politics, culture, what have you, he was always the one that was the most productive in keeping people informed and just kept that African spirit going here in modern Brazil. Jomo, he's the only one who's still alive, only because I didn't realize that when I had it painted, because 1929, I just assumed it's a bad thing to do. But he's still kicking, so he's got his. But anyway, you know, the Namibians had to fight against the South Africa. They were colonized by the whites next door, so their colonization struggle was to get free from there. Struggle in the army and Booker T. Washington. Educator. A lot of people say he was an accommodationist. We've seen a lot of information since then. Dr. Tyreen Wright and others have written about some of the things he was really doing that we would consider to be radical if people had known he was doing it.
Right.
Funneling money places where, you know, B.B. King, we mentioned this a little earlier.
So you do have BB.
King of the Blues, him and Lucille up there getting it done. That's because it's my father's #1 blues man, so it makes him my #1 blues man to get on the wall. Anyway.
Wow, was that a Ghanaian artist who drew that?
Yeah, that's why I said I had different artists, so you can see that style is different. Like one guy drew this one, different one drew this one, a third one did Walter Rodney. But this guy did those two chiefs up top,
Okay.
and he did some of these here at the end. He's really got good expression there. Yeah. He got BB in the movie. Walter Rodney, one of our most brilliant thinkers. I always mention through here, you know, there's a lot of thinkers that we got out of the Caribbean, you know. Maybe we didn't have the soldiers and the whatever, but we have thinkers. They did what they could do where they were on their islands. Walter Rodney, how Europe underdeveloped Africa was the most important work. He's brought a lot. Queen Amina, she's a Hausa queen out of northern Nigeria who commanded a huge empire of her own, making horses and cavalries and all of the things. So, Eduardo Manlani, he was one of the ones from Mozambique who again struggled against the Portuguese. Mozambique. He was educated in the U.S., PhD and all of that, but he went back home to fight. And they put together Frelimo, which was the organization that struggled against the Portuguese. Garrett Morgan, I always like the children to know about our inventiveness. You know, he invented the traffic light, he invented the gas mask, you know, these kind of things. So I like our African children to know that they too can be creative. Frantz Fanon, another great thinker out of Martinique in this case, which is of course in the Caribbean. The Wretched of the Earth is the most popular book by him, and also Black Face, White Mask, some of the others. But, died at 36 of cancer, one of our most brilliant thinkers and writers was there. John Chilimbwe out of Malawi, he was basically a preacher man and did all of his stuff in the U.S. and seminary and all of that. But when he got back to Malawi, you know, the British were still behaving in an ungodly manner, so he had to get back in the bush and fight. Sekou Touré, he's in Guinea. You know, when the French, when colonialism was breaking down, the French were leaving, they asked who wanted to stay part of this French community, and most of them said yes. Sekou Touré said, no, Guinea, we're out of here. And so then the French who were still there just tried to destroy all his infrastructure, destroy everything. And he's also brought it, and the Ghanaians know him well because he brought Kwame Nkrumah as a co-president after Nkrumah was opposed. Ahmed Césaire, another one of the great thinkers out of the Caribbean, Martinique, one of the founders of what they call Negritude, which was an African literary movement. But just a brilliant thinker, a discourse on colonialism, a poet, just all around brilliant intellectual. Samori Touré, he basically was the most effective fighter against the French in West Africa during the colonial times. They finally caught up with them, but he did his part. Kwame Ture, Trinidad, Guinea, that's as we knew him as Stokely Carmichael in America, born in Trinidad, really popularized Black Power and kind of this youth radicalism in the United States. As he came to Africa, moved to Guinea, changed his name Kwame Ture. Kwame was from Kwame Nkrumah. Ture was from Sekou Ture. Sometimes you see the O, sometimes you don't. Ture. By the way, they were related to Sekou Ture and similar. So anyway, he was married to Mary Makeba for a while there in Guinea, and of course started the All African People's Revolutionary Party. Just one of our strong brothers. Now we get down here to the master teachers, these two, Dr. Benyakinen and Dr. John Henry Clark. Between them, they've written and edited, I don't know, maybe dozens and dozens of books, put it that way. They're always accessible to young guys coming up trying to learn, you know. Very dedicated scholars. Winnie Mandela, the other Mama Africa, who fought and fought and fought to try to get some kind of freedom, sovereignty, and power for her people. I think she was dismissed a little too casually at the end, but we respect her. We're going to make sure she gets her due. And then we got Frances Cress Wilson, who was trying to enlighten us about the way the European mind works and white supremacy. So that's how far we got, but as you can see, I got plenty of wall.
Plenty of space.
There's going to be a library on the bottom. The middle space is going to be an all-purpose room. And I'll probably put some accommodations on the very top.
Very good. We'll be there with you, brother.
We need JJ Lawrence
Oh, yeah.
and Michael Jackson.
We got to get JJ.
Hello. Thank you for visiting our channel again. I just wanted to share with you some of the beautiful, handcrafted, and authentic African products from all over the continent. Please know that your purchases help to support one village at a time. So make sure you visit our Amazon store, our website, or Etsy. See the description link below.
We saw you on the video, and because when we were talking, and I'm just kind of videoing now, you built your house first on the other side of the wall.
Right.
Then you built the structure that we just ate at, and then you built the rooms.
The rooms and the wall. Yeah.
So the rooms and the wall came last.
Yeah.
That's funny. Did you have that vision the whole time, or is it just...
No, as I was saying before, I hadn't even thought about the wall. I was going into the schools to bring in the African history, or trying to bring it into the schools, but you know,
Right.
you've been in Ghana not long enough to know there's about 1 million schools in the bush out here. And they're not easy to get to, and when you get to them, they're open and they're loud, and there's no electricity mostly, you know.
Right.
So then I got the idea, if I could build a wall and then have it here and then invite them for field trips. You know,
Right,
they're all
right.
free, nothing cost. And that was working out better. So I've had hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands, I don't know. Children have come through here now.
Right.
Now this year, COVID-19, of course, school hasn't been.
Yeah, everything slowed down a
we
bit.
haven't really been doing it. But it's picking back up, and we're enjoying having other people come that aren't students, but we're all students in one sense or another, I guess.
Right. So I've seen Americans come here. Have you had like any kind of trips where American students have come?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes. Not that I organized, but that other people have organized.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, we've had not too many, but you know, a handful of trips where you know there's 10, 15 students from colleges or even high school one time in the summer, and you know this kind of thing. So yeah,
Right. So
we need more of that.
when you guys get ready to come to Africa, make sure you plan the trip to Ningo.
New Ningo Prampram is the area that you'll know most about. Most people have heard of Prampram, but it's all here together.
Yeah, and you can see I'm sweating because I'm out of shape. Jerry walked this wall every day. So
Actually, I'm just used to the climate.
Okay.
So we're both from Los Angeles, basically, but I've been gone longer than him, so I know how to. He's used to that moderate temperature.
That's it. So we're gonna put links into his place and all that kind of stuff. Links into
Great.
his information. So when you get ready to come, then you can also. Now, do you accept? You obviously accept reservations because you have rooms. But do you have to have any reservations for people for the wall? When
No. Just anybody comes anytime. Yesterday, someone came early and then someone came late. One person, 10 people, 50 or 2.
Okay.
We try to get through just, based on how much time we have. We'll spend more time or less, So it's been rewarding in that the children really, I think, are getting it,
Right.
And it's also rewarding because the people like you all come and seem to be appreciating what we're trying to do.
Oh, without a doubt, brother. So we're gonna be part of it from here on.
Good, yeah. Cool,
All right.
cool.
So I'm gonna put up links, and then there's other videos of Jerry, probably better than what I got, but at least you got some of
Not
what
better
I
than
got.
what you got. You got what you got.
All right.
That's great.
So we'll see you guys later.
All
Goodbye.
right.
Thank you so much for joining us. And please remember to like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, family, God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Bye.